Good morning, everybody. It is, unless you're watching this later, then it's not morning in a different time zone. It's Chris, and Kim's coming out. She's grabbing something off the printer, and we are live here at Whatcom at the Conservation College, located here at our house, Blue Sky Farm in Puyallup, Washington. I'm going both on Facebook and YouTube right now, and we have the YouTube video embedded into our website at wolfcollege.com. This is a introduction to, or should I say, our first full study experience, live broadcasted, that Kim and I are going to do. It's the Wolf Journey Earth Conservation Courses, Book 1, Trail of the Neighborhood Naturalist, Field Exercise or Study Experience 1A. And so here comes Kim. She just grabbed something off the printer for me, and we're going to go through this with you. We're not now in the first couple of chapters, 2 or 3 or more. We are going to do every single study experience with you, but eventually we're just going to introduce each chapter on Saturday. Right now, we're planning to do a live broadcast on Saturday mornings, 9 a.m. Pacific time here in the U.S. However, those videos will stay on. You could watch it 10 minutes later or 15 minutes later or 10 years later, or maybe you're seeing this 20 years later. That's all good as well. We look a little different now. Anyway, and so so each chapter on Saturdays will be introduced those, and we'll try to put out all of the, as we're unrolling the new published edition. We're here in 2020. We're going to, on Saturdays, introduce the chapter with and give some of our hot tips for it. Tell one of the most inspiring stories that occurred from previous times when we've done this in past years, all these study experiences, and probably share a song that inspires hopefully your journey as well. And then you can do your study experiences in that chapter, usually about 4 study experiences in each chapter on your own. Come back and journal about those, and hopefully some of you will have them on live blogs that we can follow here and there as well. But in the meantime, we're just going to do this every Tuesday through Friday, each of the study experiences. And then on Saturday, we're going to introduce the following chapter, and people can do that chapter at their own pace, or they can do it along with us the following Tuesday to Friday, right? Each of those study experiences. All right. So we're going to try in the next 20 minutes or less to show you how to find a study site, which is the Study Experience 1A of this first book of Wolf Journey. And now we kind of already know where ours are going to be because we've lived here for over 10 years and have studied those sites before. However, I'll just tell you, spoiler alert, mine is right here on the porch. It's a new study site for me. And Kim's is going to be the same place where she's off and on.
It'll be close. It'll be in the vicinity. I haven't. So
yeah, we'll go through the process.
We'll go through
together,
the process
see what you
together.
Come up with.
Right.
All right. So as you can read in the text of Study Experience 1A, we give you some tips about, like the ideal place that you might want to go if you have a good nature area near your house, transition spot, things like that we'll talk about when we go to Kim's.
It's okay.
When we go to
Kim's, a lot of people do it.
Kim's spot. But more important is also before you go, there's some things to think about. And so let's go over those. Unless you want to do something else first.
No, that's fine.
Yeah? Okay.
I'm not sure. Go
okay,
ahead.
Yeah. All right. So before you go, we have 10 tips that here at the Whatcom Conservation College, we always train people to do before they go out into nature. As a matter of fact, think about before you ever go anywhere. And you can read through those. Go ahead.
Well, okay, so I want to preface that with, these were originally written for people who were going out backpacking or hiking or something where they were away from their home, where they had to be self-reliant and such. And so remember, as you're hearing some of these, if you're just going to do your study site on your front porch, it's always good to consider all of these things, go through them in your mind or look at your list, but you're not going to have to do every single one of those on your front porch.
Yeah.
Now, if you go further afield, then you have to take it into
More,
account.
yeah.
Right. So this is a good practice for everybody to learn and think about.
Yeah, these are categories of things to consider. So the 10 essentials, for instance, obviously if you're going to go for an entire day trip in the wilderness, you're going to be taking some serious 10 essentials. If you're walking in your park, your 10 essentials
Will be smaller.
will be very small.
Yeah. Fit in your pocket.
And if you eventually go on to look for Trail of the Wilderness Survival Scout, you'll always want to be prepared with all of that.
And we'll cover it more in depth.
Yeah.
But for today.
All right. So number one, plan your route and risk management. Now, risk manage it. That basically means, obviously, in the case of just something like this, think about the few hazards they might want to think about. There are deer ticks in a lot of areas of the country. You want to be thinking about that. Study that before you go out so that you're wearing the right pants and knowing how to check for ticks when you get back. The main thing about risk management, though, is take-home message from like week-long trainings is training people to learn how to stand up and say stop when they feel like something's not quite right.
If it's not safe, you need to be able to say, hold up, we're going to make this a safe experience, and this is how we're going to do it. Think of ways to do it.
Other tips that you should always do is always tell someone where you're going and when you'll be back. When
that is
we're
the kind, polite
kids,
thing to
we
do.
have to do that with our parents, but it's also the polite thing and healthy and functional thing to do for the rest of your life with other people in your life. Yes. Number 3, whenever you change a plan, stop. Go back to step 1 and 2. 4, if you're going with a group, say you're doing this with a partner or something like that, which is one of the options. Most people do this alone because this is, a good chance to be alone and study things on your own. But some people might want to do it with a partner, even a group. Maybe a whole class is doing something together in the same area. And so classes are very welcome to use this curriculum for that purpose. But number 4 is always never separate from your party. Always stay together unless there's a paramount safety reason.
And by that, we don't mean that you have to go off on a potty break with the whole group. You can, do things like that. If you've got your study site and everybody's doing one around you, you don't have to actually be all clustered in the same place, but be generally together.
Communicate.
Yes, communicate.
If there is a paramount reason, you have to back to number 1, replan everything, communicate fully.
Risk manage.
Yes. Number 5, lead in your mind. Always lead. Don't follow. So obviously, if you're by yourself, you obviously have to take the responsibility of being with a class or with an adult and you're a child or something. Even children, they need to be, if they're following parents or teachers, in their mind, if one of the adult makes a decision that they don't really think is right in their mind, they really have to turn on their leadership skills and go, okay, I'm going to pay attention to every single thing and start taking notes in my mind about it. All right, number 6, halt. When you're halt is HHALT, and that's hungry, hurt, angry, lonely, tired, or thirsty. Just halt. Stop.
Yeah, and take care of the problem, and then you'll have a much better time, and so will everyone else around you.
Yep. And now sometimes you push through those feelings when you're at your study site because somebody can't always feel wonderful.
If you forgot to bring a bar, it's okay. You'll last the 20 minutes that you're out there until you get back.
That's true. All right, and that's a good trick. Also, if somebody else is not making very good decisions. Sometimes I just sort of fake.
They pull out a snack, and then before you know it, they're not as cranky as they were before, which is
Number
great. 7,
always have your awareness skills on. Now, we're going to be going through this in Chapter 2 in detail. Yes. So number 8, regularly look behind you.
Oh, yes.
So you know your way back. And
just see really cool things.
Yeah, and say you don't know any awareness skills yet, specific skills. It's the best way to stay aware. Going to your site. Number 1, there's a few other tips here, but I put it, number 1 is look around, up, what's up there, what's behind you, and ask yourself a few questions. What attracts you? Is there a bird flying in a certain area? Do you want to follow that? Do you want to be completely cerebral and think about things in a scientific way? Do you want to follow your heart? Maybe there's a beautiful leaf that floats off in another direction. You can just kind of follow nature to try to find your spot, but also, be aware, is there a hazard around? How do you feel? Number 2, when you do find something that you, again, kind of like the general vicinity, stop there and take a long breath. Now in chapter 2, when we go through awareness skills, breathing is the number 1, and also survival skills, breathing is number 1. But it's breathing is really taking a nice long breath is the foundation of all awareness. And ask yourself, even close your eyes and do that. What do you hear? What do you smell? So I'm going to do that. Oh man, it's a beautiful spring now. People that are doing this like in the middle of the winter, they're not going to be smelling.
Oh, but it could smell like that snowy, fresh
yes,
smell.
I
That's
know,
awesome.
That's really nice.
For pine trees or something.
But that's all good. Every season is wonderful, but spring, it's a lot easier to do as long as the bugs aren't bad, which they certainly aren't here right now. It's great. Yeah. Okay, I love this spot. My gut's feeling good. I'm pretty lucky. All right.
I can do this spot too. There's a lot of really wonderful things here.
Okay, well, if you're not sure when you're stopping a spot, do Kim's trick. Your trick. Your trick of making the decision.
My trick.
Yeah,
yes. This is how I make hard decisions sometimes. So what you do, you could have multiple options, but what I do if I have 2 options is I just can't decide, and I've gone back and forth, positive, negatives, cannot decide which one to do, I'll just pick one. And if internally I'm like, yeah, and I feel better, then I know it was the right decision. If internally I'm like,
I feel it in my kind of a gut.
Yep. Then I know that that's not really right and go with the other one. And I don't know why, but for me, maybe I'm just more intuitive about my physical response to something, but it really works.
Well, we're really, really tuned into the negative a lot of times as people, at least in our culture. And so when you make the wrong decision, you kind of know. So that the reverse double negative.
But anyway, so do you want me to talk about how I'm going to pick my site, or just do yours
let's
while
do it.
You're here?
Yeah, we're going to go through it while we're here, just mine, because mine's not such and then we'll actually do this when we're out at your site.
Right, but should I talk about it now and then?
If you want, yeah.
Because you're talking about a method. So.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so my method really for choosing my site will be, because I live here, it's a little bit easier, but I'm just going to go out and listen because I'm such a bird girl and a bug person that I'll just pay attention to, like Chris's spot here. When I'm sitting here, I hear a robin singing off that direction. And so to me, immediately, I'm like, I would love to have a robin territory in my site. That would make me feel really good because then I'll know if things are, safe and happy because the robin's singing or alarming. So that's one of the things that I pay attention to. It's just, I guess you almost kind of mentioned it, if a leaf blows this way or whatever. For me, if it's a bird singing or that something piques my curiosity or that sense of wonder, and I'm like, oh, wow, I wonder why this is happening. Are you going to link to my blog of when I did the first time? Yeah, that's a good way how I first picked my study site to read that. Awesome.
I'll link it
so
under the text.
Okay.
Yeah. So and then of course repeat this process until you do feel something that's
right. And it's okay to have a couple of spots that you're thinking about because it's not like you have to pick today. It's a place that you're going to have for a long period of time. And so you want to make sure that it's one that really resonates with you. So choose a few kind of general areas that seem like they're going to feel good and then move to those and sit closer with them and see what kind of happens in the feelings that it evokes. And that's what I do.
And in over all the years of people doing this, very few people find it in 20 minutes and are done. In this first study experience. Yes, quite a few people I know. Here comes as a viewer friend. Oh my gosh, it's going to come right into my study site. Yes. Is that a nest? It could be just feeding. We'll see. We'll have to observe.
Yeah.
Anyway, so a lot of people find it in their first time they go out, and they're good with that. Other people, it takes them 2, 3, 4 times going out. And I don't know what the record time is before somebody finds their spot. But
I found mine the first time I went out, but I was looking for something to happen, and it did. I think it's just foraging.
Okay.
Totally distracted right here. Sorry.
I'm gonna have to try to turn it and see if people can see. Can you release this? It's right in there.
It's in the bush right there.
Yeah, and this is, by the way, transitioning into our next. There it flew. Okay, now the Facebook people can maybe. Facebook people can come and see it. It's right there in the middle of the camellia. So this is moving. I was going to do this anyways. This is now moving to once you found your site, which I have, you take a look at the view all around. The expanse of your view is the outer, one of the ways to decide on the outer expanse of your study site. Now, not everybody's going to have a view like ours.
But I term it a little bit differently than you do, and I think that might help people.
Well, just let me talk about this just a second, because I've been thinking about it the last couple of minutes from a porch perspective. And that is a porch view may be the extent of your study site. Now, all your studies might occur just on your porch. But I see a bird out there. You probably cannot see it, obviously, in a camera right now. A lot of people are right up against a road or a sidewalk or a building. And so your eventual study site may extend beyond your view. But you don't want it to be so much that when you start maybe you bring in some like I'm going to be bringing in potted plants, things like that, making the place even more diverse than it is now. So, you don't want to make it too big. That's for sure. So you were going to say?
I was going to say, so for me, there's a little bit of terminology that helps. So we really love the word peaceful place. And so I'm actually using that to encompass the entirety of what we've been calling our study site. And so I'm actually going to use the word study site to be the individual location that I'm going to be mapping and monitoring. And it's within my peaceful place. But some people will use it.
I do it opposite. I like peaceful place, the actual center spot, and my study site being the expanse of the boundaries. So you know what we're going to put let's edit this later today on the description, say Kim's method versus Chris's method.
We can put it on 2 pages and see which one gets more clicks. We can game it.
Oh yeah, this is going to gamify it. All right, cool. All right, so
anyway, regardless.
Yeah. So okay, now that if I say I use a terminology, my study site is the expanse of whatever my boundaries end up being, great. But then I want to start getting a little bit more minuscule. And let me put this down. And I want to actually choose I want to choose a square meter, which will be kind of like my sit spot. Thank you. There you are. And so the square meter would be the place where I would most want to spend most of my time, really. However, if you're finding that square meter, don't just tromp all around it, because you'll want to have a square foot within reach of it, or be able to get on your knees and look over it, that you're going to actually be studying when you start focusing. As a naturalist, you want to take a big wide expanse of your entire study site or your entire peaceful place. But you also want to know the minutia of nature, because the foundation of all that grows and thrives are the small things you can't even see with your naked eye. And so that square foot is something that you're also going to be mapping and discovering over time. And Kim has told the story about Mr. Ari. And the square foot that
it's wonderful.
He had all those 5th and 6th graders back when she was a kid too.
And probably every year since.
Yep.
Just think of thousands of kids.
Out in the woods behind Fruitland School.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so step 1, determine the view from the area that you like. Step 2, kind of determine your square meter that you're going to be spending most of your time, kind of the anchor point, I think is what Jon Young calls it. Yeah.
That's good.
And number 3, the square foot. Then you want to choose a square foot that you're not going to kind of marking it out. You're not going to be drawing it necessarily or anything like that. You're just going to be observing it. Try to, ideally it would have a diversity of a few plants that are kind of growing in there, or maybe it's a tree nook that is growing another plant, or some mushrooms out of it, or maybe there's a bunch of little insects in there, some scats from
my favorite things right there.
All those sorts of things, fine if possible. Now what I'm going to have for my square foot, because it's going to be a porch lifted up off the ground, I'm actually going to go over right now, probably leave Kim when she starts talking about it for a second, go grab a cedar tree that I had potted up from Kim's parents' house. There's a big cedar tree and it drops a bunch of fertile seeds and sends up a bunch of new cedar trees. So I have a cedar seedling over there that I'm going to use. It's in a pot now as my square foot.
Okay.
And then, yeah, so that's step 3 is choosing a square foot. There's some alarming going on of the robin out there. Maybe he's trying to tell me something. And step 4 is just spend some time, maybe another 20 minutes if possible. Oh, what's going on?
But there's a Jay. Oh my gosh, is there a robin nest right there? Is that Jay getting into it?
Good. Let's go take a look. Oh, there goes the Jay. And the robins are chasing him. I've got my orchard fenced off because the deer really love to get in there. Where do you think this nest was, Kimmer?
I don't
Within
know
my view.
I don't see one now.
Oh, okay.
So maybe it's over here somewhere. Maybe it's taking it out of their area.
Yeah, it could be. All right. Well,
So easily distracted.
absolutely. Hey, let's go over to your study site now.
Oh, okay. Let me grab my picture. Wait, you want to get your cedar tree?
Well, yeah, I'm going to show everybody where my cedar tree is sitting. Those of you that saw the broadcast a few days ago, it's still on our blog in perpetuity. We have our one day that where all our bees were brought in. So these are all the potted cedar trees that I got. So I'm going to choose one of those, and it has a bunch of the native leaves that have fallen into it over the winter here. Oh, so nice.
I know. So I was actually thinking of here where you're hearing the robin alarming and the song sparrow going over there. So that was actually one of my considerations. So it's close to the house. I can get to it easily. It's a safe place. It's legal to be there. It kind of covers all of those different things. And so that's why I was really looking into considering this. But back to a spot that I found some years ago and sadly did not continue with, although it's really fun because I took a picture of what this site used to look like. And then you can compare it to what it looks like now. The chickens.
For those of you that saw some previous broadcasts, you know we've gone over here before, and it's really, Kim really chose an amazing spot because over the years, it's become so our conservation project that we've been working on next door, and also here on our side of the property, by adding native trees as well as a fruit orchard here. And take a look at this. You can even see it.
So actually, before you take a look at it, what I want you to look at is...
Kimmer, there was just a little critter that ran right. I wonder if it was off camera. Just ran right there.
How little of a critter?
So it was right here.
Like a mouse little?
Where's the square foot that you're thinking of? Just
Well, it was right over here by the stick.
Yeah, I think it was a bull. It was right there, and it ran right underneath that old fence that I have piled up. To find the tracks.
Anyway, even more inspiring. This is why I want to choose this site. But so I actually started doing study site about 10 years ago, if you can believe it, when we first moved in here. And so this area behind me is a completely restored kind of wetland and stream. And this is what my study site used to look like 10 years ago.
Yeah, look at that snag in the photo. If you can see it.
Yeah, so here's the snag right there. So a snag is a wildlife tree. It's a dead tree. And my study site was actually on the other side of this fence.
Well, that's the snag
just
right
barely.
there.
So the snag, I can't.
Yeah, I'll bring a little closer.
Tell where it is. And there's so much. So once again, remember, this is taken from the other direction. But the snag.
Yeah, that's the snag in there. Yeah, take a look and see whether they can see it in the camera.
Yeah, so right, oopsies. Oh, I'm so massive there. That's the snag there. So let's angle it up a little bit. And then for you guys, this little critter right there. So my last study site, here it is. There's the snag taken from the other direction, so it would look like this. My actual study site was this tree right here, this willow tree right here. So I'm actually thinking, I was considering at my study site and listen to that song sparrow up there singing. Just a solid little critter. It's going to be an easy spot to get to.
Yeah, it's real nice. You can
diverse.
even use your binoculars out our back window to
Yep,
kind of
I
keep
can.
an eye on the
And
spot.
I can even see the spot from our bedroom window. Isn't
Ooh,
that really
that's a good
cool?
point.
I know,
At least in
I
the
know.
winter.
So this has changed a lot. So going on here now and to spend hours and hours and hours watching it and learning about everything that's going on. But, you know, can I just point out one thing that I see at first? So on my willow tree here, if you follow it up, let's see, for you guys here, it's up there. If you follow it up, you can see where the sapsucker has poked a whole bunch of different holes. I mean, there's so many things here, even if you don't know what did it. It's like so cool, these things. So this is going to be my site for sure. I'm still going to work out where my individual little study square foot will be.
Well, let's talk about that. If you were to choose a square meter where you're going to end up spending kind of most of your bulkier time when you're observing where.
Well, I'm still thinking it would be over this direction. And the reason is because as I'm looking around this area, behind me we've got our garage, which while it could be very interesting, it's not really what I want to focus on. I want to
Would be
focus
nice
on
to
more
get up on the
natural
roof once we have that fixed and get a bird's eye view.
But anyway, I don't really want to be looking toward that. That's not as interesting to me. And you know, we've got a backdrop from the archery right over here, some different things. I'll get that out of here. But what's interesting to me is that direction. And so I feel like if I put my square meter or the area where I'm going to be sitting most of the time and focusing to be with my back toward the garage and my front toward all of this amazing beautifulness over here. So I'm going to pick a square meter that's comfortable, that's out here. Now, one thing to consider about is I am in full sunlight, which could be good, could be bad. Something to consider during the summer when it gets hot.
Umbrella.
Could bring a little shade umbrella. And I'll bring a little stool to sit into. Now, I don't want to walk around too much right here because I might accidentally step on the actual spot that I'm going to pick for my square foot. So I'm just kind of going to stand back. I'm going to come out here regularly today and see how this feels. Actually, I can already tell you it feels great. So
no, we're kind of lucky we've already gone through this process a few times.
Once I figure out my meter and then inside of that my square foot, then I'm free to roam around that area and look around. I don't want to actually do too much roaming around. I mean, a little bit, because you don't want to, you know, smash things or impact the animals and the creatures that are going to be there. But you do want to learn as much as you can, and sometimes finding little small bugs and things takes a little bit of.
Can we see kind of a potential square foot and what the diversity in there might be?
Yeah,
now, I know you mentioned before you don't want to do over where the invasive reed canary grass is growing really tall, which I have to weed eat probably to keep down. You wanted to have some native plants maybe in it.
Yeah.
Although people might not know which ones are native and not.
And you don't need to know which ones are native or not, because even if it's not native, there's something to learn about it, and it plays a role in our environment.
And you may be
and the critters that are living there.
And you may be restoring the area right around it.
That's true. I'll think about all the fun I could do with this right here. So yeah, I was just thinking, you know, it's kind of in the middle of the lawn area, but I do have a really nice diversity of plants. But the cool thing with this particular kind of spot right here is you notice that it's really muddy over there, not as many plants, which could be good. But right here, I've got a combination. I've got a lot of plant diversity for 1 square foot, and I can still see through to the ground, to the soil below. So I can learn a lot about that as well. So that's kind of my thought.
Okay. Cool.
Got different elevations. I've got some things that are tall, so I'm not only looking just at the square on the ground, but actually
now the square foot concept. Do you actually put string around it when you start drawing or monitoring what's in there and that kind of stuff? Or should we just say that for another day?
Well, no. I mean, we can talk about it. My opinion is the more you fiddle with it, the more you're changing what's going on there. So if you're going to mark it at all, I would mark outside of it. Don't mark the exact corners of it. Maybe mark just slightly bigger than it if you're going to. But you can photograph it. What I would do is just take a twig and poke it in the ground so it sticks up. Because you're not going to see like 4 twigs sticking out of the ground. You're going to see it. And if you were worried about not seeing it, you could tie a little flagging to it, but it's going to impact the things that are going to go there. So try to make it as subtle as you can. Or if you have a good memory,
what do you say?
Or if you need to protect it from other people fiddling with it, that might be a good time to mark it off.
Public parks are great to do it, but then there's other people that are in there.
You just got to get off the trails.
Yeah.
And if somebody moves through with their dog or whatever, that's still an impact on your study site. Yeah. And so it's still something you can learn from.
Yeah,
and how your site recovers. If the dog paws all smash it down, how long does it take for those grasses to pop back up? And how
don't worry. Somebody's going to step all over your square foot eventually.
Hey, even as an elementary school kid, they built a trail around the school and a bunch of kids lost their sight to the trail.
And that's okay. I mean, this is a program. It's habitat, rural and urban habitat conservation, which means how do we affect and improve and help the habitat when there is a lot of human interaction. direction. Well, what do you say we call it a day? Because
Sure.
people may do this field exercise once, know what to do, or they may come back and do it several times. And then tomorrow we'll come in here and decide what to do next, which is maybe drawing a little bit of either the view or the square foot.
Yeah.
We'll see. It's all going to be unveiled tomorrow. Those of you seeing this in the future already is in study experience 2B. So we're going to head back toward the house. And
just remember, don't rush yourself.
Yeah.
This is a spot where you're going to spend a lot of time and you want to feel good about it. And
Yeah,
there's not a
and-
time frame on this.
any other last words before we call it a day? Well, yeah, when you're done today, take your journal and just write generally. Maybe fill out the few aspects of the journaling cover page that we provide or that you created for yourself. And then maybe just write a paragraph or something. I don't know, not too much. I mean, if you were super inspired, obviously go ahead, but don't worry about putting a huge journal entry yet. You'll have plenty of time to do those things as well. Hey, Cameron, do you want to push the buttons and tell everybody be well and
Sounds good. Be well.
have a great time out there?
Yeah.
Can't wait to hear
wait, that's right. This is
what
not a
y'all
touch
find.
screen. All right, bye.
And then you have to touch it twice where it says, "Are you sure?"
And for you all, thanks